Hopefully, you guys are having a great day. Um, I'm just making this intro because I lost my part of the audio for the podcast, and we cut it together where I cut it off. We started talking about movies. We started talking about because he's a stand-up comedian, Nick's stand-up comedian. But make sure to go follow them, Movie Ruiners. Make sure to follow me on podcast 50 pod underscore cast 51 on Instagram, and I'll be posting their stuff to go follow them. But I just want to make this reminder to follow me and to follow Nick and his podcast, Movie Ruiners. Great podcast. And just want to let you guys know that, my audio was a little messed up in the first one. So cut it off. And hopefully everything turned out well. I've been working on this all week. So that's why the episode's coming out a little late. But without further ado, hopefully you guys enjoy the podcast. Very funny. Nick, he's very funny. He's a stand-up comedian. So hopefully you guys enjoy the podcast. So you haven't gone since COVID to the movies?
Yeah, hold on just a second.
No worries.
I took a drink and I was drinking a drink and I was chewing on the ice. I'm again, movie ruiner. I'm an ice chewer. People, I'd be sitting in a movie theater just chomping on ice, and people would hate me. But no, I went and watched. I was saying that I went and watched the Tom Hanks movie News of the World in theaters during COVID, and there was no one in the theater except for me and my girlfriend in these reclined seats. It was
those
awesome.
are the best ones.
And it was one of the theaters in Birmingham. It's called it used to be the Rave, and I think it's an AMC theater now. But they deliver wine. You can have wine to your seat and everything. It's legit. It's the way to do it. And so, but growing up, I'm not gonna say I lived in the movie theater because that just sounds like I had a neglected childhood. But we went all the time as a family. More so than movie theaters, though. When I was a kid growing up, we would eat dinner as a family, and after dinner, it was oh, who's picking the movie tonight? And it was this honor to pick the movie that we watched, and we would all go my parents' bedroom. My parents get bed, me and my brother would lay in the floor, and we'd just watch a movie, and it was just fun family time. It was just something we do. We still do it to this day. When we're in town and with my parents, we'll always over Christmas and Thanksgiving, we'll all watch a movie, and we talk a lot hey, what's a good movie you've watched recently? And so it's just it's a big part of my parents and who they are as people and how they were dating. They both loved movies, and it just got passed on to me and my brother. So it's just it's more so than going to the theater. It's just it doesn't matter where you're at. If the movie's good and the company's great, it's always a fun experience for us.
Yeah, I get that. I just like going to the movies for the experience, especially if it's an epic movie. For example, Infinity War. The first day crowd, Thor comes down, everybody's yelling and screaming at the same time. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. It's just so crazy. And there's nothing better than going on the first day and it comes out and it's just the best route to go with. And the whole movie theater is just packed and everything's just electric. That's the only way I can describe it. It's just electric, and that's one of the things I miss.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're not wrong. There's definitely some great movie theater experiences. Me and my brother will talk about being oh, wow, we went and watched that then. And I remember seeing Avatar for the first time in theaters in 3D and being this was wow. I left and was that was amazing. Yeah. I mean, so it's just, I remember writing being there will be so many Avatars by the time we're this age now, but there's still only that one. But I just, it depends on there's some movies you got to see on the big screen. I mean, Jurassic Park, I remember 1992. I mean, I'm a kid, and that was the scariest movie I'd ever seen in my life, and seeing it on the big screen. And I remember you got clout. The closer you sat, it was ooh, I heard so and so went to Jurassic Park and sat on the third row, and I was nah, so and so sat on the first row, and I was oh my god, that's crazy, they're insane.
Yeah, a movie like King Kong, you need to watch in the movie theater.
If I went to Jurassic, I was sitting Like I was scared.
Yeah, like I was saying, like a movie like King Kong, you have to go watch in the theater. It's one of those movies.
Yo, yeah, there's definitely movie. I saw Endgame in theaters. That was a funny story. Me and a buddy were at a wedding, and we drove like 4 hours. Like we woke up that morning, we were like both kind of like had a fun night, so we weren't feeling just particularly great. And we took 4 hours, went straight to the movie theater, thinking we'd be able to like get some food before the line was so long. So we are just like, forget it. We only got like popcorn. Like that's the only thing. We couldn't order actual food. So we got like popcorn and like a couple things of candy and soda. And like we will go to our drink, we go to our seats, and this movie's like 3 hours long. So we're eating all this candy and we just both get so sick. And so we're like throwing up in the bathroom with like 12-year-old kids whose parents like also gave them too much money to spend that day. And so like it was so bad. Like we're
So
just
you ate candy the whole 3 hours?
So I mean, it was only like I only missed like 15 minutes of the movie because I was throwing up in the bathroom because I was starving and I ate so much popcorn and candy that I was like a little like it's essentially like I was a kid who like my parents gave me $20 and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy so much candy with this, and then I just made myself sick.
Yeah, where I live, $20 gets you like one piece of candy. Like here's a Skittle for $20.
No. At the movie theater, yeah, you're not wrong. But like I was referring more to when I was a kid and prices were different. I'm 34, man. I feel like so old. The world has changed
Yeah,
so much
dine-in
during my
movie
life.
theaters are just the best. You press a button, they come out and they bring you food. I'm like, wow,
Yeah. I mean, it's the way to do like it really has turned like you can legit take a date and like a girlfriend, and it's a fun
yeah, I went to
date
go
night
see
to go do
Infinity
that.
War at this. Yeah, I went to
What's
go see Infinity War at this theater. $25 a ticket. It's expensive, but let's just like let's say it snowed in the movie, it snowed in the theater, like with like fake snow and stuff like that. And if someone was riding a motorcycle in the movie, the seats would turn left and right with like the motorcycle, and that was just really cool. You could just go different movie experiences every time.
So I recently when I tore my Achilles, a buddy was like, "You need to make your way through the Marvel universe." And I'd seen like I watched Iron Man in '07 and loved it, but then I watched like Iron Man 2 and 3 and we're like, I don't know, like I don't really love these. And it was because I love Sam Rockwell, but I just didn't really Iron Man 2 just I didn't really love it. So I kind of got like soured on all of Marvel stuff. But then I tore my Achilles, and he's like, "You need to make your way through the Marvel universe. Watch them in order, the way or like the way they tell you to." So I did, and now I'm like, "Man, this is great! Like I love a lot of these movies. It's fun. I enjoy a lot of them." So I'm curious, who's your like favorite Marvel like character, and or like what's your favorite series of the
I'm
Marvel
a
movies?
DC guy, but I've seen every Marvel movie, and probably my favorite is Spider-Man. I'm not gonna say Tom Holland's my favorite. My favorite probably is Tobey Maguire is my favorite. Not sure if you guys said that on your podcast, but Tobey Maguire is my favorite.
See, these are the right
But
answers.
yeah, my favorite is Into the Spider-Verse. I just love Into the Spider-Verse. The animation, the story, how revolutionary it was. Into the Spider-Verse is my favorite Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, Into the Spider Verse is incredible. It's such a game changer for like the. I remember just watching it and being blown away. My brother watched it in theaters and called me after he left the theater and was like, "You have to watch this movie." I mean, and like, if you're a Spider Man fanboy, that's incredible. I'll tell you this. I thought this was so funny. So, my girlfriend, we were watching something for the podcast, and she was like, "Oh, you should watch this." And I was like, "No, we're not going to watch that. That movie sounds terrible." Oh, she was like, "You should do High School Musical." And I was like, "What? No, get out of here. That's so dumb. No, like, don't tell anybody else you said that." Like, keep that to yourself, girl. And then I was like, "Well, let's watch." I was like, "We're going to do Spider Man." And I was like, I know you won't like Into the Spider Verse because she doesn't like cartoon stuff. I was like, but let's watch one of the Sam Raimi Spider Man. So we're watching it, and she's just like not into it, to be honest. And like halfway through, her eyes light up, and she's like, I get it. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, I get Spider Man now. And I was like,
Oh
oh,
my!
sweet. And she goes, yeah. he's Hannah
Oh my
Montana
goodness.
because he can't tell people he's Hannah Montana. And I was like, oh my God, that's the dumbest.
Yeah, Hannah.
I was like, you're not wrong. I was like, dang, I just haven't thought about that. That's the weirdest bridge to gap. And she's like, yeah, because if people find out he's Hannah Montana, he can't be Hannah Montana anymore. I was like, girl, if people find out he's Spider Man, he dies. like huge. Like I was like, the stakes are so much bigger in
Yeah,
Spider
Hannah
Man than
Montana's
Hannah
rich and
Montana.
Spider Man's
You got
not.
to cool it.
Just saying, just saying.
Yeah, and Hannah Montana had the best of both worlds.
If you didn't say it, I was gonna say
Oh,
it.
Tom,
So
I hate that I said that.
But yeah, I'm excited for the new Spider-Man.
Good.
It's rumored to have Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield are going to be in the movie. Charlie Cox from the Daredevil series is rumored to make an appearance as well. If all of this is true, I'm really excited for the movie. I really can't wait for this. When is it coming out?
Yeah, yeah. Saw him in the trailer.
Yeah, this is. I really can't wait for this movie.
So when you said DC, I love Charlie Cox in the DC version of Daredevil. I really enjoyed that, especially like I think Wilson Fisk is such a great bad guy. And he's so good in that
Yeah,
series.
Vincent
So
D'Onofrio
I
is
really liked it.
one of those actors where if he's in a show, I'm gonna watch it every time. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. He, yeah, he's so good,
He's
and
phenomenal. And he's
there's no
so
other
good as
person who could play
Fisk.
Fisk. I fell in love with him. I fell in him.
No, I mean he nails it. And so I really like that. Um
Yeah, I
changing
fell
your
in love with. He was on Criminal Intent, and ever since then, I watch everything that he's in. If he's in something, I'm gonna watch it. There's no other. He's just so good of an actor.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you said you were a big DC fan. So like
Batman, Batman, and
what's your
Batman.
DC
When
guy?
he asks me who my favorite DC character is, I always say Batman, Batman, and Batman. Of course, I like other stuff, like the Flash and all that stuff. But I really love the animated stuff. Is what DC does best. Like when people say DC doesn't do good stuff, I always say go watch the animated stuff. I always tell people DC does animation the best, and Marvel does live action the best. That's what I always tell people.
Okay. That, that's so like I would say my limited so I haven't watched a lot of the DC animated stuff. Now the only animated Batman I remember would be like after school getting home and watching like the WB and they would have like the spot like the old Batman comics or the old like Batman on there and I'm not sure which one it was, but I remember watching some of those and they were incredible. I felt like all those shows though were so good when I was younger.
Yeah, if you have
And
HBO
I just
Max, they're
haven't
all
watched
on
them as
there.
an adult, though, to be honest. I love. Oh, okay. I don't have
Yeah,
it
I'm watching
currently.
Superman the
I've
animated
heard great
series, and
things
yeah,
though.
they're all connected. They did the connected universe before Marvel did it, but Marvel's doing it better.
Yeah, Marvel has done a really good job. Like I definitely, I, I just Stan Lee's amazing. Like what I mean, he's just a huge influence on movies today from a standpoint of creating those universes and then being able to get them from the comics
Yeah, they're
to
doing a
the
great
big
job
screen.
over there at
I mean,
Marvel.
hey, they've done a
Before they
great
were
job.
doing some bad movies. Don't know if you remember Daredevil and Elektra, but yeah, Blade was really good. But glad that's coming back, to be honest.
Oh, I lost you
Yeah,
for what movie? Oh yeah, I didn't realize those were Marvel. To be honest,
yeah,
Yeah, man, that's like I did not realize Daredevil and Elektra, and that's so crazy that it was Ben Affleck and Jennifer Gardner, and then everything that's happened, and it's like, man, yeah, I could see the divorce between the couple and the divorce between Marvel and those two movies, and wanting to distance. No, thank you. That's why those aren't listed on the Disney Plus app where
Yeah, I
you
think
like
Electra
work
is one
through
of the worst
Marvel.
comic book
It's
movies.
why there's no Daredevil and Elektra. I never watched it. I like Jennifer Gardner, but not enough to watch Elektra and or yeah, but I mean, I'm not gonna like rip on 13 going on 30. Like, what's up? Like, great movie. You can disagree. Feel free.
Yeah, it takes a lot
Might
for
be
me
like
to
I
not like
have
a
some
movie.
like weird movies. I'm
I'll
like,
give
yeah,
it
it's
a
good.
pass,
I'll watch
but
that.
when it's
Whatever.
bad, I'm like, ugh. I'm,
I'm me and my brother's much more critical than I am. I'm more of the movie lover, and he's more of the like snob, where he's like, but there's times where he makes some great points where he's like, yeah, but what about this huge plot hole? And I'm like, oh
yeah,
yeah,
listen,
whoops, like yeah, I didn't
yeah,
think about
listen to some
that.
of your
I
guys'
mean, they just I'm more No, I'm more of a person that like I'll enjoy something in the moment than and he'll just more kind of pick it apart a little bit. But that's why we have an interesting podcast that people should check out because we definitely have difference of opinions, but also we have a lot of chemistry from a standpoint of we're brothers, so it's just easy to talk to each other.
Yeah, I
And
listen to some of
I'm the
your
comedian, but I venture to
podcasts.
say
You
that
guys
he's
have
funnier than
some
I
good
am. He
banter
is
mixed with
very funny.
some good movie movie reviews.
Well, I appreciate it, man. It's a fun thing, and my parents love it. They're just like, if anything ever happens to us, it's like one of those things where it's just like, man, this will be one of like my parents' most precious memories to have if something were to happen awful. Like God, I hope nothing ever does, obviously, but it's just it sounds like I'm about to murder my brother for some reason. But no, I like it's just a cool thing. I'm glad to get to do it with my brother and have these recorded memories for my future family or his
Yeah,
family to
make sure you
look
guys go
back
check
at
them
one
out. You guys are
day
on
and it
everything,
just be
right?
a
Like on
neat thing. So it's
Spotify
a
and
it's a fun thing to do.
iTunes and all that
I'm
stuff.
glad to get to do it with him. Yeah, we're everywhere podcasts are found. Yeah, from what I understand, you can't if you're on. We're on Stitcher. We're on like even like crazy ones. So it's like if you can find a place where there's podcasts, we should be on it. And we're just movie ruiners. So check us out. We just had our theme song. We just added it. We've done 21 episodes. Colin Smith out of New York just did our theme song, and he does like the theme song and is on Keeping Joe's podcast with Sam Morrell and like Joe Mackey and Phil Hanley, which are all
I love
comics
those
that
guys.
frequent the Comedy Cellar. And he does like We Might Be Drunk with Mark Normand and Sam Morrell again. He does their and like their theme. So he's great. Like he's so good. And so I got to work with Colin on the theme song. And so we're adding that. It's been fun. And so there's just a lot of neat. We've got a bunch of cool comedians that are lined up that are going to come on soon. Some of my buddies that I think are the next like up and coming comics. Like we've got a future guest named Connor Larson, and he's out of Nashville, Tennessee. And Connor is so funny. He has amazing jokes, but he's such a Norm Macdonald, very just dry and funny and like this is a matter of fact. Like here's how this
Uh,
is. It's cut and dry, and this is why it's funny. And he nails it. He's so funny. He's going to be a podcast guest coming on
and
soon.
I saw you guys talk
So
about
we
Hook, one
had
of
a
my
fun,
favorite movies of all
a
time.
lot of great, exciting things coming up.
Yeah, Hook is yeah, of course there's some flaws in it, but still such a great movie. I can't believe
Really,
no one else has done a grown-up Peter Pan, and Robin Williams is just perfect for the role.
oh man, he crushes it. He was so good. Like I just, his Robin Williams as or not as Hook, but as Peter Pan is just forever ingrained in my brain. I mean, I watched that. My grandmother, the story there was my grandmother on the other side, my mom's mom. She, when you stayed at their house, she lived out in the country and she had a 4-wheeler. And she was just like, if you're not outside on the 4-wheeler, like I guess you can watch one of these 3 movies. And it was like a Jane Fonda workout tape, one episode Ninja Turtles, and Hook. And so, like, obviously, we just watched Hook like all the time. So I've seen Hook frontwards, backwards. It was one of those movies that it's like, man, like, thank God I love this movie because I've had to watch it 75,000 times in life. But it's great. I often fast forward as a kid to like when they were in Neverland and just skipped
Yeah,
past
that's
all the
one of my
like
favorite movies and
plane
one of
scenes
my favorite
and
Robin
like.
Williams
But
parts
now I
besides
like
Mork and
love it
Mindy.
as a whole. I
But
think
yeah,
it's great.
top notch Robin Williams for me.
Oh yeah, I mean he just crushes it. He was in a stretch right there where he was just untouchable. I mean everything. When I remember Patch Adams, he was just so good, and then you see him like get into the more serious stuff where he did like, oh gosh, I almost said The Legend of Bagger Vance, but that's not. I'm thinking of Matt
Ben
Damon, Ben
Affleck
Affleck.
in
Why
Good
am
Will
I
Hunting.
blanking on the movie Boston? Hey, example. Why am I blanking on this? Oh, this is so. It was, no. It was the first movie with Ben Affleck and Matt
Yeah, I
Damon. It was
forgot the
like,
movie in
oh,
the
there's
middle
going to
of a
be somebody
podcast. If
listening to
anybody
this
asks
podcast
me
and
outside
like,
the podcast,
this
I'm
movie,
like,
you
yeah,
idiot!
it's
Why
that
can't
movie.
you say it? Gosh, it's oh my gosh, Good Will Hunting. Good Will Hunting. Yes, Good Will Hunting. God, that was driving me crazy. Oh, thank goodness I scratched that. I was losing my mind there. But yes, Good Will Hunting. You see Robin Williams get more serious, and Robin Williams to me just has always been one of my favorite humans. Like cheering people up on set and just always being on, whether it was like stand up or it doesn't matter where you plugged him
Yeah, his
into.
improv
Robin Williams would just
skills
turn
are
it
great,
on
and like
for
any
other
movie
people,
that he was in,
and
he probably
I
improv
don't
like
know. I
half
just
the
admire
script.
the heck out of him. Oh yeah, I mean, there's like I was watching Mrs. Doubtfire literally just recently, and I bet they could have made a whole nother movie with all the
Yeah, I
like
want to
extra
ask you a
film
question from a
probably from
previous
that. Like
episode. I talked with my friends about
he
Die
was
Hard
a master
and
of
if
his
it's a
craft.
Christmas movie. Do you think it's a Christmas movie?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we did an episode like that. So we talked about it a lot. It's obviously not like a movie in the spirit of Christmas, where it's like, oh, this movie makes you feel good about the birth of Jesus, and or like, oh, this movie is like makes you feel good about like, helping people, or like, but it's set at Christmas time, and there's so many Christmas references. There's Christmas trees all throughout it. There's Christmas music. It's a Christmas movie. I'll watch it every year at Christmas. Like it's one. I don't know why, but around that time, I'm like, yeah, let's throw on Die Hard. I'll have a fire going. I'll throw it on. So yeah, it's a Christmas movie for me. Now
I just
I
watched it
won't
for the
give you
first
Die Hard
time
2,
this
3,
year,
4,
and
5, but
I just
that Die
seen
Hard
it.
was definitely a
It
Christmas
was a
movie
Christmas
for me.
movie, and I go back and forth. For me, Christmas movie has to have Christmas integral to the plot. Could it be set in another time of year? Maybe, but I could see why other people can see it as like a Christmas movie.
Oh, and it was a Christmas party. I mean, ho ho ho! I got a gun. I mean, there's just several moments in Die Hard where it's like, it's. I think it's Christmassy enough to give guys like me a pass
Yeah, when
to
you put it
tell
like
their
that, then yeah, I
girlfriends and
guess
wives, whatever, like, hey, we're gonna watch this. That's a good. It in. It's like taking a small child to a football game with one
yeah, you
ticket.
put it like
It's like,
that,
hey,
and
they're
yeah.
just gonna sit on my lap. It's fine. Like we're just gonna let this one slide.
If you haven't seen any other Die Hard, I haven't seen any Die Hard movies. I heard the first one is the best, but yeah, all of Hans Gruber. Hans Gruber, I think, played by Alan Rickman.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, as me and my brother get in, like I say more like emotional, like I'm like caught up in the moment, more passionate. Like I said, Hans Gruber was the best movie villain of all time. Like, and then like my brother was quick to point out, like, what about this guy, this guy, this guy? I was like, yeah, and I think I just have this big nostalgia factor, and I just love Hans Gruber and love Alan Rickman. So I just think Alan Rickman's portrayal of Hans Gruber was so great. Like I loved it. I love all the behind the scenes stuff about it. So it just really like he's not that like menacing. Like I'm never scared, like terrified of Alan Rickman in that
Yeah, I feel
movie. I'm
like
never like, oh my god, like
if he was
he's so
trying to be
scary.
scary,
But
it wouldn't
I
be
am
as
like,
good.
God, he's a terrific actor. Like this is a great actor.
Yeah, he's menacing enough where you know he could probably shoot you, but
Yeah,
physically you could probably like beat him up.
when I love when they switch accents and he's like trying to be California and like, I love that. Like I just he's great, and also like I'm a big like Harry Potter. Like I loved the Harry Potter stuff just because like my dad forced me to read it. I didn't want to read it as a kid, and he like made me read it. And I was like, Dad, this sounds so stupid. Like I do not want to read this book. And then I ended up reading it, and then like I had to read an hour a day as punishment because I'd made like a C or something or D, I can't remember. And so I'm reading an hour a
Now, what
day, and like every day I'm like he's like, you done? I'm like, yeah, and I like throw the book across the room. I'm like, I hate that book. That's stupid. And 6 7 days, I was like, actually, I kind of like. I think I'm gonna keep reading Dad. And he's like, really? And I was like, yeah, I don't want to finish this. So I just became a big fan, and I just thought Rickman's portrayal of Snape is just incredible. I mean, he's just it. I would never picture a different Professor Snape. Like even in the books, like sometimes you read a book and you picture who the actor will be or what they, what
what
they
a
might
book to
look
be
like,
reading for
and he
punishment
just
out of all the
nailed it. I
books.
mean, he just Rickman just all encompassing is Professor Snape. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there was some other tough ones as well. I mean, I had to read like this one just awful. Out of
He's
the
probably
Night That
like Harry
Covers Me.
Potter,
I
biggest
still
book I
remember it.
could
It's
find, like
it's like the
700
Great
pages
Depression, and
done.
it's like the Great Depression of books too. Yeah, it's awful. Well, no, it's pretty funny. We had gone to North Carolina. My dad had to go up there for like a work conference, or like he was doing work up there, and he was like, we were going up there for like a week, and he was like, Nick, be sure you bring your punishment book. Is what it was called. Be sure you bring your punishment book. And I was like, yes, sir. And then we got like, in Atlanta, we're like 5 hours away from home or 4 hours from home. He's like, hey, you got your book? And I was like, nope. Oh, must have left it. Like, whoops. And he's like, fully prepared, and they pull over and go to like a CBS, and we're like, CBS like book section. He's like, "You're buying a dang book," and I just every book he threw at me, I was like throwing up like all sorts of excuses for why it was just the dumbest book ever. And then he was like, he just bought Harry Potter. Like, you're reading it. I've heard it's great. Like, it's stupid. You'll
Did you
love
read
it.
a
And
few
I was
books
like, all
and then
right,
watch the movies, or did
that's
you
have
like
a
read the
choice.
first book and
Didn't
then
matter. I
watch
thought it
the
outsmarted
movie?
him, but no, I had not. Oh, I can't remember how many. I mean, I had read as many books as there were until the first movie came out, and then I went and watched the first movie. So I wasn't like the movies never got ahead of the books. So I was never like
Yeah,
I'd
I
already
remember going to
read
the
the book
library and
before I
everybody would
watched the
want
movie
that
in
book,
every
and I remember wanting
circumstance
to get the
of
book,
Harry
and it was
Potter.
always checked out. Yeah, I remember going and to a library and just trying to get that book, and everybody would check it out. Like
Say
I
what?
wanted that book, and it was always checked out.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, I went from like having to read it for punishment to like I was on like the Books a Million like pre-sale like list to like sign up for it so you could get it the day it came out. Like, yeah, I definitely went full nerd over Harry Potter, man. I didn't like I was in high school. I dressed as Harry Potter for one of the like homecoming days, like senior year, and actually like won an award. But it was like pretty funny because I look just like Ron Weasley. I mean, I don't look just like Ron Weasley. I have red hair, but like have easily gone down that route, and people would have been like, "Oh, like that would have been like
Another
that would
question
have
for
been pretty
you. In my
obvious."
last
But way
episode,
to
I
go for
talked about
way to
who
go
is the
for the
best
long
living
ball with
director.
Harry.
I know it's a little biased, so I wanted to ask a few more people, and I came up with Quentin Tarantino and Steven Spielberg. But who do you think is the best living director right now?
Ooh, I mean, two good ones that you listed for sure. Um, yeah, I mean. I think you'd have to consider the Coen brothers as well. Uh, they've had some amazing movies. To add to the list, I think. I mean, when you think about, oh gosh, some of the greatest movies ever, uh, Steven Spielberg, and I mean, you didn't miss there. I mean, he's Spielberg was so good for so long. I mean, with so many different movies. And George Lucas, I mean, they did Indiana Jones together. He did Star Wars. I mean, so George Lucas has had some great. Martin Scorsese has had some amazing.
Yeah, I talked to
Tarantino, obviously. I
them,
mean,
and he only made
Tarantino is
9.
just one of
Says he only make
my
one
favorites
more,
for
and
sure.
that's it.
So, I mean, Robert. Though it's Tarantino, he loves his craft too much. Like I could see him kind of doing that, but then doing something else. Maybe we'll see. I think that's like kind of a I don't know. I know that's what's out there. I just have a different. I could just see Tarantino being like, oh, also, I released 3 movies
Yeah,
under this different name that's not me.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like
I named
I just
James
think
Cameron
those.
because
Maybe
technically
not.
his
That's
movies are
just
like the highest grossing movies of all time,
maybe
with
that's more hopeful.
Avatar and Titanic.
Oh yeah, and if you include Aquaman from Entourage, I mean that apparently did really well. Have you seen? Well, yeah. I mentioned Avatar earlier as one of the movies that I went and watched in theaters because it was so good. I saw Titanic in theaters, and I mean that was my first a lot of things. That was a great experience. I pretended to be
Talk
asleep
about a
for a
long
while
movie
so my
too.
parents wouldn't cover my eyes during a certain scene. Oh yeah, and I tried to. So I literally did. I was worried my parents were not going to let me watch the boob scene. It was like a big thing. I was like, oh man, I really want to see boobs. Like I was in 5th or 6th grade, so I was like, you just at that point in time, you don't have a lot of access to boobs, and you so it was like, all right, this is like I was like hyped about Titanic, and then you get in there and you're like, all right, like there's not as much boobs like right off the bat as I was kind of hoping for. Like this is more of a movie. Like this is very serious. And so about halfway through, I got tired, and then I just kind of like pretended to be asleep. But then it was like so much longer that scene that I just had to keep pretending to be asleep. And so I was like, the crick in my neck. I was like, yeah, I was like, man, is this really worth it? And much like any time, like in life, like it totally was. Like it was like, yeah, this is great. It was well, like not just the scene, but the movie was great. I mean, I really I loved the movie. I thought it was great. I thought it was a little ridiculous that she threw the diamond into the ocean at the end. It's like, girl, like you obviously like should have given that to somebody or like a museum or something. But whatever. Yeah, yeah, if I'm like struggling to like pay my mortgage and find out my grandmother's thrown the diamond of the sea into the ocean, I'm furious. Oh, we lost you. Oh man. So it is 45:50 here. I gotta text him, I guess, and say I lost him. All right. Switch to but yeah, I think here's when I should say that there was totally room on that door for him. Like, what the heck? Like, she could have made room. The door might not have been as buoyant, but like that was just selfish. Leo could have
Yes, yes,
totally
granted,
lived.
and no money for them, I
No
guess.
doubt. I think I'm thinking about the Rick and Morty episode 2 when they do the Titanic experience. That's they do Cape Fear, and that's just a ridiculous episode if you like Rick and Morty. I'm talking to myself. I wonder if this is like being recorded. Like if you'll be able to hear this on the podcast, if like it's actually being recorded. I make fart noises with my mouth. Name that movie. Name that movie. Can you do it? I'm gonna give you 5 seconds. 4, 3. I'll do the quote again. I make fart noises with my mouth. It is Anchorman. Yes, it is. He's in the bar drunk. That was your movie trivia. Oh, you can hear me? That's hilarious. Okay, so he says he can hear me. I can't hear him. I only see my name on the podcast, and I don't see Isaiah at all. Isaiah, you could technically send me questions through text, and I could respond to them. That's so ridiculous. But yeah, I can't hear you at all, man. I just see my name. Most people would probably tell you that know me will be like, "This is Nick's favorite podcast he's ever done," because he just sat there and talked about himself to no one for a while. I feel like I'm Bill Burr right now, just like a one-man podcast. If you haven't seen Bill Burr's podcast or listened to it, you don't see podcasts, you hear them. That's mostly how podcasts work. But Bill Burr's is amazing. I'm trying to think. It's Tuesdays with Bill Burr, Tuesday something. He said we could probably end the podcast. Cool. Monday morning podcast. That's what it's called. Yeah, sure. Well, I'm not real sure how to end it, or if you have a sign off you want to do or whatever. But cool. That's hilarious. We could probably end it. Plug your stuff. Cool. All right. I'm. If you are in Alabama, by chance, I'm going to be at the Stardome Comedy Club next Thursday, June 3rd. I've got another show there as well.
Oh my God.
The 7th, I believe. I've got some other stuff, but either way, also check out the Movie Ruiners podcast. We're on Instagram. You
I
can
have
find
seen
our
Bill
podcast
Burr's.
everywhere. Podcasts are located. It's me and my brother, as we've mentioned. It's a fun podcast. We don't claim to be pretentious snobs that know everything about movies. We just watch a movie and we do extensive research on it, and we kind of give you some fun facts. And it's just a fun trip, and it's just kind of hanging out with a couple of your buddies. So come join us for a couple of episodes. We've got 21 up. Go to iTunes and rate us. That would be great as well. But it's been great. Thank you, Isaiah, so much for having me on the podcast today. It's been fun. I hate it. I'm not getting to communicate with you currently and hear your response, but I appreciate it, man. This has been a blast, and nothing but success and good things and positive wishes to you and your listeners. And I hope you guys have a very safe up and coming Memorial Day and all good things, man. So thank you.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode. Thank you, Nick, for being on the episode. This guy is too funny, man. He's so funny. Yeah, the last part of my audio went a little haywire, and I've been trying to fix it. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Make sure to go on his Instagram, Movie Ruiners on Instagram. Make sure to go check out his stuff. Check out his podcast. They have a great podcast, him and his brother. It's phenomenal. It's funny. Again, with good banter and good movie review. And just go check them out. Thank you again, Nick, for being on the podcast. Maybe soon we could do it again without all the glitches and all that stuff. But as of right now, we're probably going to do a podcast every other Saturday. Just getting a little busy just for the next few episodes. Then we're going to go back to doing one every week. But yeah, we're going to do one every other week. Sorry. So yeah, this is going to come out like 2 weeks after my last podcast, and the next one will come out 2 weeks after that. But I think, just the next one and the one after, probably going to do that. And yeah, and make sure to follow me on pod_cast51 on Instagram for all the information, and link in the bio to check out, on Spotify and all the other wherever else you can find podcasts. So thank you guys. Love you guys. And I'll see you guys 2 weeks.